Alright, hello. I hope you guys are having a good day. Obviously, welcome to today's lesson. Alright, so without further ado, today we're going to learn image filters. Now, to those who might not remember what those are, very simple, really. It's something we explored the other day using inputs. So it's more or less building upon the inputs that we did, but remember we had something like an input text, whereas this one, something like this is using something called input radio. Okay, so let's just explore that, shall we? See, because you can see that's an input radio. You might ask me, Mr. Wignani, how do you know this? Well, it's fairly simple. It's years of experience. But for your own benefit, what you can do is you can just go over this element over here, right click and go inspect. And as you can see, it tells you input, gives you the class, but it's also got the radio, okay? So it tells you that it's an input radio, and then as if you can open all the others, definitely, just the same thing. They all share the same class, okay? Alright, so that's that. How about we get to business, shall we? Awesome. Alright, okay. So guys, today we're going to try and replicate something like this, where you click, these radio buttons, and it should change the image filter based on based on the value that we're passing. So if we look at the image itself, okay, so it gets applied with a filter there, which is contrast and brightness, which is currently saturate, but we can always click that, and then that takes precedence as well. So yeah, guys, I'm really excited. I hope you guys will have fun with me in making this thing. If you do have any questions, however, please note them down, send them to me on the Slack channel, and I will try and get back to you as quickly as possible. Alright, okay, so enough of that. There's a folder here called image filters, which I did create, so I'm going to go ahead and open it. Alright, and then I'll quickly insert it into Visual Studio Code. Okay, so standard stuff. I've already gone ahead and obtained the image that we're going to use. I'm just call this one nature. Okay, and then first things first, we want to make our index.html, and we're going to make our standard style.css, and obviously this will not be complete. Apologies, I'll make this a bit bigger for you guys. I'll make the effects.js, which is the JavaScript file. Alright, so the first things first, we'll just auto-generate the code. I'll wrap it so you can see, and then we'll implement the style sheet as always, and then we'll call that script as well, which was effects.js, and we'll call this one image filter. Okay, perfect. Right, so if we from memory go to a live server and click go live, alright, it's going to open this, but I don't want it in this window. I want it to open in this window, so I'll get rid of this one so we can have it here. Okay, alright, so we'll probably just do a simple heading and go learning image filters using radio inputs. Okay, alright, so let's have that as the title. Alright, and then let's create like our canvas in a sense, something that we're going to look at where the image will be. And then underneath that, we'll have the radio boxes where if we apply the change, it's applied to the image, okay? So let's just go page container as a class. And let's go image container here. And then for the image, remember, it's just the IMG tag. SRC stands for source, where the image is coming from. In this instance, we have our image here called nature.jpg. Okay, so we just go nature.jpg. Alternative is just a text that appears if the image is missing, so we'll just call it nature. Okay, and there's our image. All right, it's just all over the place because it's pretty massive, but that's all right. That's all right. That's why we have CSS, because CSS will help us to manipulate how things look on our web page. So let's start by fixing a few things. So first of all, I want to put default CSS to target all elements. Right, so if I've been teaching you guys up to now, if you want to do some CSS, obviously you can go .class name and then ID, or you can even do things like div tag and then you do this. But if you want to target everything, you do the asterisk, okay, the little star, that's the shift key and number 8 on your keyboard, and then you open your parentheses. Alright, and then now let's just go padding 0. So padding is essentially, you see this white line over here and the margin, so we go padding 0, margin 0, and then we get rid of all that white space. Okay, and I just go box sizing, border box. Okay, so things can fit to their standard. All right. The next thing we'll do, we'll just go HTML and body. We'll go line height. We just give it a 1.5. We want to give the font. So we want to change how this font looks. Okay, so by default, I think it's probably Times Roman. Not too confident, but let's just have a look. What's the font on this one? So let's have a look. Yeah, so font is Times Roman. If you see where it says H1 color, then 32 pixels times, that's Times New Roman. I don't like that. I like my fonts to be a bit more straight. So I'll use Helvetica Sans Serif, and that will change how it looks. Okay. Now, if you want to change how bold it looks, you can use a property called font weight. So the lower the number, the thinner your text, the higher the number, the thicker your text. So I'll probably go 400. So we'll go H1, and then we'll go font weight 400. Okay, and then we want to center the text, obviously, because if we make this big, it's not centered. But we want to center a text by going text align equals center. Okay, so let's do that, shall we? Let's put this back. So let's go text align equals center. Alright, cool. So far so good, but we have like this overflowing issue where our image is more or less going over the current, viewing dimension. Now, how do we fix that? Pretty simple. So we just go image, display block, and then we go with 100%. Okay, and there you go. It fixes it. So this is the your best friend when you want to handle images with 100. Obviously, if you want to make it smaller, then you'd go maximum width, and you can go like 300 pixels. It gets even smaller. If you go 100, it becomes even more tiny. Sorry, 100 pixels, it becomes a bit tiny, but you don't need this unless you want to. Okay, so there's that. Yeah, so that pretty much settles what we need. And now we want to work on our radio buttons, okay? So this is the fun stuff. So remember to consult the filters. So there's heaps of them, alright? So there's blur, there's brightness, there's contrast, there's drop shadow, there's grayscale, there's hue, rotate, invert, opacity, saturate. We'll build slowly, okay? We'll start with very simple ones like blurring. So if we click the radio button, it puts the blurring effect, okay? Right, so how do we do that? Easy. So let's just go dot image effects, okay? And let's go inputs. Type, we want to change this from text to radio. And for the name, let's just call it effect. Why not? Okay. And let's see what that looks like. Well, it's just a dot. Don't know if you can see it on my screen. It's just this little dot right here. Doesn't do us much. We need to have like some sort of I don't know what you call it, like a label next to it. Okay, so let's go span tag, and let's go blur. Okay, because this is going to be our blur. Cool, but I want to wrap this in a div tag. So dot image effect. So because we're going to have multiple of these, but I want to style them very, very nicely. Okay. So we'll wrap this into an image effect, and now let's give it a bit of a style, shall we? So this is the effect. So let's say we have multiple. So we go blur. Let's put grayscale. Let's put so I'll put grayscale, and let's put hue rotate here. Okay. Hue rotates. Right, so we can have multiple. Sorry, I hope I can show you something. Okay. No, excuse me. Sorry about that. Now there's multiple, so there's grayscale, hue, rotate, but I don't want them to go down vertically. I want them to go across the screen, so from left to right. Okay. So how do we do that? Again, if we remember the exercise we did on layouts, I believe, we learned something about positions, but we also learned things like display flex and display grid. In this case, grid to me makes the most sense. So we take the parent, okay, the parent of all these, which is image effects, which is this div tag here, because if you fold it, alright, everything else is contained inside of it. We'll apply grid to image effects. So if we click image effects, not image effect, but image effects, we click the plus, we'll just go display grid, okay, and we want to have a row that contains 3 columns, okay, so 1, 2, 3 across. Alright, so we just go grid templates columns, and then we go repeat. Alright, we go 3, 1 FR. Okay, there we go. So we go 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we literally have 3 columns and 1 row. Right, okay, now let's see if we can place content in the center or place items. I can't remember which one. There we go. So place items is the one that works. So delete place content, and everything is centered. Alright, everything looking schmick. I love it. So I'll copy this, and I'll paste it into the CSS. Alright, so far so good. I hope you guys are keeping up with me. Okay, please don't lose me. Okay. So considering our radio button looks very, very small. Okay, how about we how about we make the size a bit bigger? Okay, so again, image effects, okay, and let's go inputs, right, and now this is the tricky part. So here you might think, oh, it's easy to just, say input, but what if you have a different input like a button or a text? So to distinguish between that, we go these square brackets here, all right, and then we go type, okay, because remember it's input type radio, and then we go equals radio, okay. Alright, perfect. So let's just give it a display inline block, a width of about 30 pixels, a height of about 30 pixels. I think that's too big. Yeah, that's definitely too big. Alright, we don't want that. Oh, okay, here we go. I just put too much source, I guess. So 20 pixels. And let's go 20 pixels. Okay, at least now it's seeable. You can see it. Okay. Alright, so let's just copy this back in here. Now, I want things to be centered. So if we go back to image effects where we did the grid, let's go align items and we go center. Well, that didn't help. So why don't we go to image effect itself and go display flex, shall we? And let's go align items and we center it like that. Okay, so the effect is like this element right here. There's about 3 of them. So what we did essentially is instead of the the radio button just being offset, we wanted it to be level with the text as well, so everything just looks neat. Okay, I don't know, it's OCD. Sometimes it's always good to write clean code. Okay, clean code is the best code. Alright, okay, so now the next thing we need to do is probably manipulate the span tag here under image effect. So let's just go plus, sorry, I'll do that again. I'll go click on the image effects plus, and then I'll go span tag. And now let's give the span a margin of about so 0. So the first one is the top and the bottom. We don't want anything, but the next one is the sides, left and right. So let's give it about 10 pixels, shall we? And that looks perfect. I love it. Everything looks schmick right now. Okay, alright, awesome. So let's do that, and let's just copy it back in here. Alright, look at that. All in a day's work. Perfect. Now let's just space out the image in this. So we'll come back to the image container here. We'll click plus, and we'll go margin bottom. Let's give it about 20 pixels. Okay, so everything just looks like that. Alright, okay, perfect. Look at that. So we've pretty much built the front end side of things, as in the HTML. We've done that. We also have done the CSS side of things, which is what we were doing now. So what's next? The next phase is to use JavaScript to then apply. So whenever we click these, okay, so whenever we click that, we expect this image to behave according to the property that we applied here. Okay, alright, so hope so far so good, but remember, if you have any questions, please write them down and let me know. Alright, right, so I'll get rid of the CSS file, as in I'll just minimize it. I won't delete it, just close it. It's still there. I'll just close it like this. Alright, next I'll go effects to JavaScript, and first things first, so I'll say check when page is reloaded. So I'm just going to add this comment for you guys so you can tell what's happening. Alright, so add event listener, DOM content loaded, and remember I'm using functions in ES6 syntax. So please refer to the previous video where I showed you the difference between writing a function like So, okay, versus writing a function like this, okay? It's the same thing. This is just the same as this, but this is a different syntax, as in a different way of writing code in JavaScript. The ES6 is the modern way. This is what a lot of people use. All right, so yeah, things work out and all that stuff. So let's get to this, shall we? So I'll do a console.log and say effects JavaScript has been loaded. All right, and if we refresh the page, there we go. Effects JavaScript has been loaded. Excuse me. So now let's go constant. So now we're going to create a function that applies. So we go constant apply image filters. Okay. And let's just do that, shall we? Okay. Now what do we want to do? Obviously we want to target these inputs, okay? These inputs right here. So what do we do now? So we query, so we talk to the document, i.e. this window, okay? So this is the document here, right? So we talk to the document using JavaScript. How do we do that? So let's go constant and let's go image effects is equal to document, because remember HTML is a document, all right? Dot query selector all, okay? Because we're going to be talking to things of a similar nature. So this one has the name effect. This one also has the name effect. So they're all similar, but they're multiple. So now we'll go inputs, and then we'll go name is equal to effects, like this. And if we go console.log, we go image effects, and oh yeah, sorry, we didn't call the function, hence why I didn't run. So we go apply image filters, and there you go. Alright, so it's giving us back those inputs like that we had. Okay, so 0, 1, 2. Because in programming, numbers always start being read from 0. So even if you have 10 things, naturally you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In reality, in programming, it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 0 to 9 in programming, 1 to 10 in the real world. So the same thing here. We've got 3 elements. If you were to count them, you'd go 1, 2, 3. In programming, however, it starts from 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thought I should mention that in case someone gets confused and goes, what? What's happening? Okay. Alright, enough about me trying to teach you all the tips and tricks. Alright, so what do we need to do now? So, we need to find a way to check when the radio button is, clicked, or, something happens to it, alright? Now, what do I normally do? I tend to go how to check if input radio is selected. Okay, alright. So this is where we are. So if you don't realize, I always Google a lot of stuff. This is how I learn. So whenever I have a question, I will Google it and then I'll search it. This is how I also learn. I hope you guys will also have that attitude with you as well. Alright, so we need to check if this is checked, okay? Alright, so now let's go image effects.for each. Now the for each itself, it's like a for loop where it goes through this list. So if you remember, we had this list here, this node list like this. So we need to read everything inside this, okay? And then if we go for each, it will read all the things inside image effect. Now if we go console.log and we go image effect, after applying the for each method, you see it will give us everything that's inside that list, okay? So effectively this one is a node list, okay? And then here we're saying loop through our node list and get all the elements, okay? All right, now that we have each element, okay, so we want to go image effect dot add event listener. Now I'm pretty sure if we can probably do checked, maybe checked event listener. Let me just quickly check, okay? Check for radio. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of things there. What if, let's go if image effect dot checked, let's go console.log image effect dot next sibling dot text content. So I want us to say if we check this, it will print blur. If we check that, it will print hue rotate. If we check this, it'll say grayscale here, okay? Let's go grayscale. Okay, nothing happened. Blur, nothing happened. Hue rotate, nothing happened. Alright, so back to the drawing board, alright? So I'll go vanilla JavaScript, check radio button is clicked or something. So this person here has said file is checked. So I'm wondering if it has to look like this. No, you can't do that. I'll have to have a look at this, okay? So maybe next lesson, this is where we'll start off, okay? And then we'll have a look and see how we can get the value of the image effect, okay? Alright, thank you. Hopefully you enjoyed today's lesson. If not, that's alright. I'm always open to feedback. Otherwise, I hope you'll enjoy the rest of your day and see you next time, okay? Thank you.